So what I'd like to do before we go into a little bit of talking about Aikido practice, and then we'll do a variety of different practices, some sitting, some standing. We'll just introduce each of ourselves. If anybody else jumps in the next couple minutes, they can do the same. So you can say your name, your pronouns, and what I'd like you to say is just what you're feeling in your body today, or in this instant, in this moment, something about your body feeling or sensation or anything like that. So I'm TT or Tim, they, them pronouns, and I'm feeling today, definitely feeling a lot of kind of tingling excitement about doing this session with people, and just that kind of aliveness feeling as well. And then I'm going to pass, and you can do the same after you speak. I'll pass to Lisa.
I'm Lisa, and she, her, and I'm glad to be here and interested. I'm feeling interested in what's going to happen here in this training. And
Lisa.
Adrian.
Hi, I'm Adrian. I'm from UK. It's just past 11 night time. I feel tired, but I'm also interested to see what's going on. I thought there's going to be more talking, but I'm up for some practice as well then.
Great.
Thank you.
And we'll go ahead to Rock.
Hey y'all, I'm Rock. I don't really have a particular pronoun, and I feel curious.
All right. I think it's just the four of us for now. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, to answer your question a little bit, Adrian, as well, we are going to do some talking about principles, philosophy, have everybody have a chance to discuss as well, but we'll do some practice as well. Nothing too intensely physical. There may be in a couple the other classes through the 4-week series, we might do some more kind of physical work, but today it'll be just about kind of developing and working with our awareness. So obviously, some of you all have experience with Aikido practice. Some of you might not have much, if any, experience. So we'll kind of come into this with that beginner's mind notion that we often talk about in this practice and in other practices too. Beginner's mind can be that sense of being in presence, being present, looking for nuance and new information or experience that might come out of any individual moment of interaction, connection, community, or practice itself. And just being ready to listen to each other, yourself, and especially to your own body, right? So in any case, any way, shape, or form, listening to your own body. And we'll definitely do practice today that really focuses on finding center, listening to the body, and moving to the center. So of course, I have a couple things behind me I've written up. We won't get into a lot of this today. This is Aikido. Some of you know. The ki is energy, ki, chi, kind of a vital energy, life force, universal energy. Do is a way, path. And I is harmonizing and blending. So we have Aikido is the way of harmonizing energy. That's really where this martial art, right, is so beautiful and so I find unique, in that it's really about harmony, creating harmony. And not, although it is Budo and self-defense, it's not so much oriented towards the notions of fighting and cultivating more violence. It's more about harmonizing energy, whether it's aggressive energy or whatever it might be. So we're going to talk, I want to talk a little bit about some qualities of Aikido as I see it. So I think of this as the ABCs of Aikido: awareness, balance, and center, right? That's to me the ABCs of Aikido: awareness, balance, center. So awareness can mean awareness of the self, awareness of other, awareness of space, awareness of energy flow, awareness with our senses, and that kind of intuitive inner body awareness. Balance, you can kind of think of as physical, emotional, psychological. And one of the things that I love about Aikido practice is that it cultivates balance in all three of these fields really powerfully. So it's not just about physical technique, but you can take the applications of practices we do, and we'll be talking about that a little bit today, and apply it to kind of self-well-being, emotional, psychological spheres of yourself. So, and then the center of your mind, your body, centering in space-time, right, in the dynamics of movement and with other people. And then I like to add a little extra as coordination. So the title of this class, I called it Aikido with Mind and Body Co-ordinated. That term comes from Koichi Tohei, who is one of the kind of main teachers that was a student of the founder of Aikido. And his lineage of Aikido, he called Aikido with Mind and Body Co-ordinated, was his kind of long title around the classwork he did and the teaching he did. And I really like that term because it focuses on the coordination aspect of coordinating mind and body, but then also coordinating your movements within the body systems, coordinating your focus in different places at different times. So these are kind of the qualities that I want to focus on over the course of these 4 classes. And what we'll do is we're going to do a couple practices of getting into awareness, getting into center and balance, kind of sitting practices, meditative practices. We'll do that in just a few moments. And then we're going to have opportunity to chat and share a little bit about what we felt somatically. So one of the fields of work I also do is somatic therapy and somatic coaching. And I like to bring a lot of that deep somatic awareness into my Aikido practice. And I think that it can really heighten any of the other qualities you want to research, like self-defense, martial awareness, things like that. So we're going to move into some of that somatic awareness practice. Cultivate again kind of these ABCs and some still practice. So we're all sitting already, so we can just make ourselves comfortable. What I want to start with is some somatic awareness of space, basically. So this is a practice where, from where you're sitting, I just want you to observe your space. So that could mean looking around, maybe looking left, right, forward, backwards, up and down, letting your eyes take in the room, widening your field of vision, letting your awareness spread. So we'll start with this spatial awareness practice. And if that means turning away from the screen so that my face and image here is not your focus, then that is perfectly great too. So we'll just get a chance to feel into our space, wherever that is. And I'd like to think you can apply that beginner's mind philosophy to the space. Wherever we're practicing, it's probably somewhere we're very familiar with. Maybe we're here way too often these days. But how can we cultivate kind of newness in that experience with our space? One of the little tips in this kind of practice is to notice 3 phenomena. And that could mean an interplay of objects or geometry. It could mean light and shadow, or a particular something in a particular place. So I'd like you to do that as you take a few moments to just notice your space. See if you can isolate 3 phenomena and notice the qualities of them. And we're going to move from that spatial awareness practice into our sense awareness. So since the spatial awareness really involved our visual sense, we can close our eyes for this next practice. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of move through each of the other senses and notice what we can sense and feel. So when you're ready, you can close your eyes. And the first sense I'd like you to focus on is your sense of touch. Wherever in your body you might first gravitate towards, to be aware of that touch, contact. Maybe you can feel how your body presses against the chair or the seat you're on, or even the texture and weight of the clothes on your body, on your skin. Anywhere along the skin of your body, just notice what you might feel, the movement of the air. And then you can move to become aware of your sense of hearing. Even in the most silence, there's still something we can hear. You can practice noticing even without naming, even when you can't identify what it is you're hearing. And then we'll move into our sense of smell. I recommend taking some breaths in and out through your nose so that all the air is flowing through the nose. Just noticing what you might smell, if you smell anything different. Again, this sense may be difficult to name anything specifically, so just notice without trying to name. We'll move to our sense of taste. And for this, breathe in and out through your mouth. And pick up any particles in the air that might bring something to you. Again, you might not be able to discern specific things, but just attuning to that awareness. When you're ready, you can open your eyes again. Just take a moment to kind of reacquaint yourself with that sense of sight, the visual field. So we can start to relate the awareness of all our senses, our bodily awareness, to spatial awareness, and kind of cross that bridge a little bit as we do this practice. Next thing we're going to do is start to do some work around centering. So we're going to do this in a seated position. If you're sitting in a chair, just kind of sit forward on kind of the edge of the chair a little bit so that you have an uprightness, so you can feel your pelvis and your sit bones in contact with the chair. We're going to do this. This is a Qigong exercise called stoking the fire. Basically, we're going to do some light movement and then some breath work around stoking that fire in what's called the lower dantian, which is this space below the belly button, this root and sacral center of the body. So do this first, we're going to do, and you can't really see the bottom half of me right now, but what we're going to do is we're going to tense and release the muscles underneath the pelvis. So that's the glutes, the upper leg muscles, the perineum, even the sphincters. Just contract all of that if you can at the same time, and then release. And you see my body kind of bounce up and down a little bit. So we're going to try to stimulate all of those muscles underneath the center. Contract and release. And this is both a way of centering, and we're going to start to notice that quality of balance, right? The ABCs there. So we start to get some idea of maybe we have, because we're all humans and we're not symmetrical, maybe one muscle is more stimulated than the other one. Maybe we have more strength on one side than the other, or maybe our hips and pelvis aren't aligned perfectly because we're all human bodies that have different arrangements. So this will just help us to identify and sense that part of the body. Okay, good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start awakening around the upper part of that center. So we're going to do some gentle forward and backwards movement, just like this. And what you can do is start to breathe in rhythm with the movement. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and out. So we're just kind of lightly and gently activating these muscles, abdomen and the lower back. Continue stoking that fire, right? Cultivating that fire, that warmth of energy, of ki in the lower body. And then you can just rock back to your center point. We're going to do the same rocking side to side. So you can rock and arch a little to one side and then the other. And then again, start to match your breath to the rhythm of the movement, or match the movement to the rhythm of your breath. These are nice exercises for kind of relaxing the upper body too. We start to sink into the lower body, sink into the center, feel all around, back, front, and both sides. You can rock back to your center. The next part of this exercise is just using breath. So this is called a bellows breathing. So that kind of analogy of stoking the fire, it's like we're pushing air into the fire, getting those flames working more. So what we're going to do it kind of short and sharp first, and then we're going to slow it down. So we'll do 2 different rounds of this bellows breathing. So you can breathe in through the nose, and when you breathe out through the mouth, it's like a pushing of air, like blowing out. You can go a little slower than me if it's too fast, but just kind of short and sharp like that. And then just relax back to a natural breath. So if that kind of breath work is new for you, it can maybe make you feel a little lightheaded at first. That's perfectly okay. Just sit with that feeling. Then we're going to do the same kind of breathing, but really slowly. So breathing in through the nose, and then blowing out through the mouth, nice and slow. If we do it nice and slow like this, see if you can kind of press your abdomen in as you breathe out, like you're pushing the air out from your belly button. And you can just relax to your natural breath wherever it moves, breathing in through the nose, the mouth, whatever is most comfortable for you. Just take a moment to tune in with your bodily awareness. If there's anything you feel or sense after that practice of moving into the center, stoking the fire, getting the sort of sensory and spatial awareness going. So this is a nice, I think, introductory exercise to that sense of ABC's awareness, balance, and center. And I'd like for each of us to get a chance to just share anything we noticed in our body. But if you want to take a minute just to sit and kind of scan or observe. And if you'd like to share anything, go ahead and come off mute and share a few words. No pressure to share, of course. One of the things I always notice about working around the center there is just I feel a little bit more through my length, my width of my body. That kind of awareness is something we're going to do another practice with standing in a few minutes. So we'll deepen with that sense of dimensionality of the body. Okay. Next thing I want to do is talk a little bit about kind of 4 kind of key points to mind and body coordination. These are points that come directly from that school of Aikido I was talking about earlier from Goichi Tohei. And I have them written here so you can see them as well. Okay, principles for mind and body coordination. We'll go through each of these, but we already kind of started doing it as well. 1 point. The 1 point is the lower dantian, the center, below and behind the belly button, right in the center of the body. This is also called the gravitational center because gravity pulls most deeply on the pelvis rather than through the feet. So the pelvis is actually weighted a lot by gravity. So this pelvic center, sacral center, root center, that's the 1 point. And in this mind and body coordination practice, you can talk about how centering on the 1 point is kind of a place to always fall back upon. It will align parts of your body. It will align your energy flow. So it's a really great somatic practice too for kind of nervousness and anxiety. It's like breathing into the lower belly, dropping your awareness into the lower belly. The next one is relax everything. So of course, easier said than done, relax everything, right? We carry lots of tension in our bodies all the time. But the principle there is kind of to soften up the joints and again, let the weight of your body, let the gravitational pull kind of allow things to hang and sink. And at the same time, feel relaxed in your spine, this uprightness. We're going to do some practices standing where we look at some of these in a few minutes. Weight underside is the third one. This principle is the idea that as you move your body, if you lift your arms up and down, or if you lift your legs up and down, and even in the pelvis there, the weight is all on the bottom of it. The weight's on the bottom of the pelvis. The weight is on the underside of my arm if I lift it up. And this kind of principle thinks about how energy lifts up the body from underneath rather than like we're pulling our body parts up. It's really important in Aikido practice and in lots of martial arts, right? To think about moving from the center, lifting from underneath. And these kind of practices help us to stay more rooted, stay more centered, protect ourselves better, and as well to keep that cultivated relaxation really well. And the fourth principle is extend ki. So ki is that energy. Extending ki is both kind of a psychological, metaphysical thing, and it's very, very physical as well. It can have to do with your body shape and how you are. And the saying in the Aikido practice is often that we have this relaxed strength, right? So the more relaxed you are within a certain form, we're extending more and more ki. Whereas if I'm really tense and contracting a lot of muscles, holding my strength in the muscular sense really intensely, I'm going to maybe extend less ki, less of that energy out. So these are the 4 principles. We're going to do a couple standing practices where we're going to look at how we might feel those in our body. So all of this kind of philosophy and principles, it's all about getting it embodied, feeling it in the body. Otherwise, it's just, philosophy that we write and read. And the whole point is to embody these things. So what I want to do, we're going to stand up and we're going to do a couple practices where we can look a little bit about this. So let me just move this out of the way. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, this is another centering practice. We're going to start off with this, and maybe we can start to feel some of those principles a little bit too. Having this relaxation, having kind of a centered, weighted, heavy body. So this is called centering in 4 dimensions. And just with a relaxed position, feet about shoulder width, whatever is most relaxed for you to just stand here. We're going to center and align with the length of our body. So I can walk you through kind of scanning your body through your length. You can start by thinking about the bottoms of your feet and just let your awareness kind of move up your legs, maybe moving up the back of the legs or the front of the legs, feeling that length. See if you can feel the weight, the gravity pulling on your pelvis. So we were doing that exercise earlier where we contracted and released the muscles underneath, the sphincters, the perineum, the glute muscles. What you can do here is try to relax all those muscles. And what you might feel is a little bit of extra downward pull. So that's part of that dimension of length in the body. And that's that weight underneath principle. You might feel the length of your spine all the way up, or the length in your arms hanging at your sides. And then we're going to center and align with our width. So a good way to start with the width is again with the feet, noticing and sensing the space between your feet. You could even shift your weight from side to side if you want to. Shift from side to side and just feel that movement in your width dimension here. You feel the space between your knees, the space between the hips. You might even notice the breath on the side of your body, the breath kind of moving the side ribs out and back in as you breathe. Maybe having awareness of the space between your arms and your body here. From out and back, feel that space. You can feel the space across your collarbone, the width of the body here, from shoulder to shoulder, or in between your shoulder blades, the middle of your back. Another good place where we have a lot of sense awareness is in our mouth, from cheek to cheek. That's the width of our body too. And you can also, of course, notice the peripheral field of your vision, the width of how you see. Extending into our width starts to build on this principle of extending E, right? So just by thinking and noticing in our body, the width of our body, we're starting to extend our energy field out a little bit. Next, we're going to center in our depth. So you can start with the feet again here. If you'd like to rock your weight from maybe heels to toes, just rock backwards and forwards a little bit. Feel the weight shifting. That's our dimension of depth in the body, from heel to toe. Maybe you can feel up the back of your body first. Feel the back of your legs, the back of your hips, all the way up your back, the ribs in your back, your spine, back of your neck, back of your head. If there's any absences and places where you can't quite sense, that's okay. You just feel whatever you can feel of these areas. Maybe you feel the front of your body too. Often easier to sense the front than the back because most of our sensory organs are here, our perception is here. You can feel your legs, your abdomen, chest, shoulders, the face. And then what I'd like you to do to really get inside the center of our depth, we're going to think about that space in the mouth again. So we can really feel inside our mouth, right? See if you can feel your lips, and see if you can feel the back of your throat. Maybe by taking a swallow, you can feel movement against the back of your throat. And then just kind of follow that awareness like you're going inside your body. To whatever degree you can find that. And that's the center of our depth inside the body. And then I'd like you to bring both your hands to this place, this one point for lower dantian. So to find it, you can kind of place your thumbs on the belly button, have the rest of the hands below the belly button. If you're wearing a practice belt like I am, usually the knot is right about on that point. So this is, in this practice, the 4 dimensions. This is kind of our 4th dimension, is the center itself. And just using your hands kind of like tools to draw your attention to that place. So we start to draw attention and energy into that one point. Maybe you can feel your breath moving your belly. And what I'd like to do, keeping the hands here, is we're gonna look at this relax everything technique and idea. So one way we can do that is kind of dropping into our weight. So let your knees bend a little bit more. Feel the weight moving down into your knees, into your lower body, sinking down a little bit. And I'd like you to take a few breaths and breathe the shoulders up and then release them back down. Just keeping the hands right on your center. Just releasing the weight of the shoulders and the arms when you breathe out. There's a nice way to kind of drop the weight of the shoulders, relax through the upper body. And keeping the hands where they are, next thing we can do is we're just going to move with our chin and our neck. So as you breathe in, let your chin rise up. And as you breathe out, bring your chin towards your chest. Breathing in, rising up. And breathing out, chin to chest. Come back to center. We'll go a little bit to the side too. So you can be real gentle, but sort of bring one ear towards the shoulder. And then do the same to the opposite side, ear towards the shoulder. And don't push it here. We're not really trying to create deep stretching for our tissues. We're trying to just allow relaxation from the top down. Open up a little space. Back to the center. And we're in this position with the knees a little bit back. Think about your tailbone and kind of notice where your tailbone is positioned. What I want you to do is try to tuck it in and under. It's kind of like bringing it slightly forward. Tailbone tucked slightly under. This will help to create length through the spine. Continue dropping that relaxation down. Then notice again those muscles underneath the pelvis, the perineum, sphincters, and glutes. If you're contracting them right, which is very normal for all of us, because I do it all the time, see if you can release them. So we continue dropping that relaxation down. Now the sort of position we have in our body is what's sometimes called Zhangzhuan posture, which is kind of low weight in the body. Upper body is really relaxed. And release the hands from the center. What we're going to do is we're going to take a pose that's called embracing the tree. So I'm going to move sideways on so you can see a little bit more. Have this little bit of sink into my knees, the tailbone's tucked in, relaxed up here, open those muscles underneath the pelvis. And then I want to let my arms float up, but we're going to do this really slowly. I want to think about the weight underneath. So you might imagine there's someone lifting your arm up, or you might imagine like a water level is rising and your arms float on the surface of that water. You're just going to float up really slowly and gently until they're about at your chest height. And when they're about at your chest or shoulder height here, just check and be aware that your elbows are still kind of hanging down a little bit. You see my arms. Elbows are still hanging down a little bit. The weight is on the underside, almost like there's a weight on my elbow. You can check where your shoulders are. If your shoulders are really far up, just take a breath and release them down. So this is the position in our bodies, a little posture here. We start to feel some of those principles, feeling the one point, the center, feeling that relaxation, and also feeling the weight on the underside, pelvis, underneath the arms, bottoms of the feet. We're just going to hold this for a little bit. And what I want you to do is take some really nice deep breaths. And we're going to just visualize this principle of extending ki. What that means to you might be different to everybody. It's thinking of extending the energy in your body just outward a little bit. It doesn't have to go to meet anyone. It doesn't have to go to anything in particular. It's like your aura is widening out. Think of it that way. With each breath, just visualize widening your energy out, sending it out to the space around you. And then slowly just let your arms sink back down, really nice and relaxed. You can assume more relaxed or natural posture in your legs, whatever feels right. So just kind of think about what that practice might have made you feel. Often we do feel like our legs are working a lot, the weight is dropping down into them. But the more and more we practice this relaxation kind of dropping from the top down, this weight lifting up beneath, we start to relax even through the legs. And it's like the ground and the earth is holding the whole body up. So I want to do a couple specific practices with this weight underside in mind. We're going to do some lifting and gentle movement of the arms and some extension practice. So you can start by putting your right foot forward and left foot back. Have the feet kind of narrow, one in front of you. So in a nice stance here. We're going to do a rowing exercise. So for those of you that practice Aikido, this is the rowing exercise we practice a lot. If you're new to Aikido practice, you'll just follow along. It's relatively simple. Basically, we start by rowing with the lower body here. So I'm moving with my knees and my hips here, moving back and forth. And just like a practice we were doing before, the upper body is really relaxed. It's upright, but it's not working to create the movement. And then we're going to move our arms like they have the oars in a rowboat. Just like that. Let your arms be relaxed but heavy. So the same principle applies. There's kind of weight on the side of the arms. But the movement is very gentle through the arms. Shoulders are relaxed. Working in this flow of movement a little bit, we might start to feel even more how that weight comes up from underneath. The arms are being lifted by the movement of the lower body. Kind of like pendulum. Once they get started, they're just carried by the movement. This is a really good practice for continuing to have our center in motion. So as you do this, just see if you can keep a little bit of your attention with that one point deep in the belly. Okay, good. And we're going to do it on the other side. So you can step the left foot forward, the right foot back. Same kind of stance, really narrow with the feet right in front of each other. You'll find that the distance that works for you. Find that rowing from the lower body from the one point, the hips, the knees, and then let your arms start to move like they're holding on to the oars of the rowboat. Okay, good. So then we'll release that movement. We're going to do a little bit of extension practice. So that movement kind of starts to generate the feeling of this full body connection in a little stance like this. This is a stance we use in Aikido all the time. Of course, we're always starting and moving through positions with this nice narrow stance. It's very stable, but it allows for a lot of movement around the center. What we're going to do in this position, you can come back with the right foot forward to start off with. We're going to do just an extension practice. And this is something that I often do with partners, but it's also just as effective to do alone with ourselves. So in this position, the right foot forward, left foot back. Just have your right hand extended out in front of you. Have kind of the palm pressing forward. We're going to do a little exercise here. With your other hand, I want you to grab it by the wrist and just pull it in and let it collapse. So let your arm be totally relaxed and it just totally collapses. Yeah. So that quality of relaxation is really good, right? But there's not any extension. We're just staying relaxed and letting it go in. Then you can take the arm extended again. And this time, when the other hand comes to grab it, I want you to resist getting it pulled in. Resist pulling it in. So you can really think about using your strength here, pushing against yourself. So these are kind of two dualities of really strong extension, but maybe no relaxation, and super relaxed without any extension. The third time we're going to do it, we're going to extend. And what I want you to think about is that you're extending all the way from your back heel. So your back heel is providing the support and the weight for your whole body all the way up through. Just take a moment and center on that idea that back heel is providing the extension for the arm. And then when you come to grab it, try to stay relaxed, but also extend all the way through that whole structure. So don't resist it with your upper body muscles, but extend from your back heel forward. And see if that feels different. Trying to stay relaxed, but resisting pulling in. And you can release. We'll do the same on the other side. So it's a nice way to kind of feel out these different qualities. Again, start to notice and embody some of these ideas rather than just thinking about them. We really feel them in our bodies. So with the left foot forward, left hand outstretched. First, just be totally relaxed. And just pull with the other arm. And try not to anticipate and pull the arm in on its own, but let the opposite arm pull it in. And we can do an extension where we come to grab it. Resist, using the arm muscles, using the upper body muscles. Resist and push against it. Okay, then we'll do this relaxed extension. So feeling that you have this whole structure all the way from your back heel, moving through the body. You could almost visualize that as one line, one rope or line. So in order to have this extension, we don't need to just use the arm, but the whole body supports it. Back heel. Take a moment to just feel that, sense it in your body. And try to stay relaxed, but without collapsing here. Okay, release that. So before we move into a couple other things, just want to take a second to open the space for any sharing or observations about this practice. Like I said, some of these practices might be familiar to some of you, some might be new, but each time we do something, there's always new things to discover. So if anybody has anything to share, again, no pressure, just open the space for a moment for that.
I've been trying to remind myself to let my shoulders down a little bit, so that kind of that rooting that you're talking about, and that's what's coming up for me.
Thank you, Rock. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, that's a place where the muscles will really contract, and they're used to that from whatever patterns we do in our lives with lots of movements or writing, sitting, postural habits. And that's a good place where once we start to relax that channel connects to the rest of the body, and it's like you have an extra boost. So thanks for that. Anything else from anyone? All right, no worries. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, I want to ask if everyone has a water bottle. Yes? You can just show me if you have some sort of vessel for water. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bottle, but if it's a cup, it might spill. But you know, that's totally something we can work on. If you don't have one and you can go grab one, that's great too. The first thing is to make sure your water bottle is not completely full. Your cup is not completely full. So have some room in it so the water can move around. Wait for Adrian to come. Looks like he went to get the bottle. Awesome, great, perfect. Okay, so we're gonna do a little practice with this bottle. As a way of feeling and simulating that center, we're gonna do an exercise called spiraling, but we're gonna start with the bottle and then kind of move it into the bottle. And you'll see what I mean. We'll go ahead and stand up again. So I'll just talk a little bit about spiraling, or the kind of spiral geometry. Spirals are very powerful structure, right? They have kind of directionality, they have sturdiness, and they have a circular movement. We use in our Aikido practices spiral movements when we're practicing with each other. We're going to look some more at different kinds of spirals and turning, some more in the later weeks. But I just want to work a little bit in this gentle body spiral, this energy spiral. So just standing in a regular position, feet about shoulder width apart. First thing we can do is just relax our knees a little bit. So open the knees, make sure the knees aren't locked. We're going to use this water bottle first. So whenever you're ready, we're just going to start circling the water bottle using just your hand. Put it out in front of your center, in front of that 1 point area. And just move it around. You can hold it from the top, from the side, or from the bottom. You can try all three positions. Just move it using just your hand, like making a circle or a spiral. And the movement of the water in it starts to help you feel that spiraling movement of weight. It's the same thing that happens in our body, spiral. Of course, our bodies are composed of so much water as well. You can try it on both hands, circling it just with the hand, just from the wrist. Then what I'd like you to do is, we'll do it on both hands again as well, is don't move your wrist independently. Start to move the 1 point and the hips. Just making small circles with the hips. And as you make these small circles, this is going to be another place where we might notice, relax the shoulders, relax the elbows. And as we circle and spiral the hips, eventually the hand, the water bottle, will start to spiral, will start to move. But you're not doing it from your hand, right? You're just moving from the center. Again, if you want to change your hand position on the bottle, you can. Try holding it underneath too. Try it on the other side. Again, nice cue to just check with your shoulders, the elbow. Relax those places that the movement of our center moves out into our arms more easily. And then you can take a water bottle, put it to the side, and just think about that manifestation of weight there. There was some extra weight in the hands. And just seeing how that weight, that water starts to move just from the movement of our center, even at a very gentle. It's the same thing that's happening to energy in our body, the whole body, when we do circular movements. What we're going to do is spiral with the whole body now. So you can start the same way we did, spiraling in the hips, circling around. And as we circle, just start to release other parts of the body. So you can start with the lower body if you want, let the knees start to open up into the spiral. And even your feet, maybe you feel contact along the bottoms of the feet moving in the shape of the spiral. So your whole body starts to open up into this movement. Same with the upper body, the chest, shoulders. Checking to see if there's tension or contraction there. You can relax it. Start to open up into the movement of the spiral. Just like that feeling of the water bottle thing. Your whole body has this weight, but it can be relaxed and move just from the center. And then we'll let the spiraling die down. So let it really gently stop. And once the external part of your body stops moving, just take a moment to feel on the inside or sense in any way if there's any residual vibration, spiral movement, tingling maybe through your body. Often spiral movements can open up a lot of energy flows. You might feel some tingling on your skin. We'll come back to sit down. Okay, y'all, so that was kind of an introduction to some ways of getting into the center, coordinating mind and body. Some very, very basic things around Aikido practice. But hopefully for those of you that practice, some opportunities to continue researching in the moment, have that beginner's mind to each new instant of practice of your body. So what I'd like to do is, again, just have the opportunity for people to say anything about the practice, about the feelings they had today, or just in general, if you have any of your own insights into this mind and body coordination, things that you feel on a daily basis. I want to kind of open up for a few minutes to just talk about these concepts and how it might affect you day in, day out.
I think these days that I've been the opposite of aware of my body. In some ways, I've been aware that there's so much tension and I'm holding so much, but I haven't done anything about that awareness. It just has accumulated, or I shouldn't say it's awareness because it's really not, because I haven't been digging into it. So Aikido is new for me. I had a former student who practiced, and that's what really drew me to you, along with what I do with rooted resistance. But what we just did, those exercises were really meaningful for me.
Great, thank you so much, Rock. Yeah, and I definitely feel you on being aware of tension and not necessarily knowing how to dig in or look into it more. You know, it may not always feel like that is like awareness, but you are noticing something in your body, and that's always part of the process, right? And having some tools. Often in the somatics, we talk about that we're not always going to be able to solve problems in our body or in our life in general, right? So these tools are about kind of management or ability to relate in new and different ways. And that's what I find Aikido is really good for in a martial sense and a self-growth sense of finding new ways to relate and communicate with our bodies. So Lisa or Adrian, anything you'd like to share or add to this dialogue? Anything at all?
It was good. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Very relaxing, I can say. I honestly didn't know what to expect. As I said, I thought it was more of a talking, like a verbal Aikido rather than good with the principles, and then do a bit of a physical. I'm gonna go to bed in a minute, so I'm relaxed. I'm ready.
Well, thank you so much for joining at such a late hour from the UK.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, and we'll continue doing a little bit of everything in the coming weeks as well. Some talking, some philosophy, and some practice. And I hope that you will come again if you're not too late. Not too late for you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll try.
Thank you. Yes.
I was hoping I was invited by Jacqueline in Norway.
Oh, really? Oh, wonderful.
And I thought Jacqueline was here, and Brian, and like Lisa said, where are they?
Where are they? Yeah.
We close to
Yeah, I
friends.
thought Jacqueline might come, but yeah, Brian's not here, so. But
Yeah,
we'll see.
that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah. All right. Lisa, anything for you to add in dialogue with us?
It was a very nice practice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very relaxing.
Great. Thank you so much for being here. Well, I look forward to next week. Going to kind of build on some of these ideas and continue doing movement with integrating that philosophy of practice. And of course, there'll always be more nuances, more depths to go into our bodies. But yeah, any questions or comments, you can always contact me, Facebook, email, any of the above, and I'm at your disposal. So I appreciate you all very much, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Adrian. Thanks, Lisa.
Have a good week.
Yeah, have a good night. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Have a wonderful evening.